So you missed Friday. Hey guys, and happy Sunday. We missed Friday, so we are doing our Faith Friday video on this Sunday just so that we close the gap and keep the momentum going for the coming week. Hi, I hope you are feeling blessed. I am speaking at the top of my voice because my little son, my baby, is sleeping in the next room, being watched by my husband. So welcome to today's video. We aren't going to be long because this girlie has a bit of separation anxiety. Even when the man is in the house, I don't know how I'm going to manage when I go back to work. If you are new here, hi and welcome. The name is Gorata.Selaledi. This will count as a sound check. So hi there and welcome yet again. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for tuning in. We aren't whispering today because Nanas is in the other room. If you are new here, I'm a new mom, recently had a baby boy mom in the house. And I am a faith-based content creator and so excited to be here yet again, given that I wasn't able to record my video on Friday. I have been recording my videos in real time, editing on the same day and putting it out on that specific day. And I wasn't able to record this past Friday because I had taken my son for immunizations and I need to slow down. But like I said in my check-in, I don't want to be here for too long, but let me slow down. Yeah. So I took my son for immunizations on Friday. He got injected on both thighs, on his feet, on his thighs, both thighs, left and right. And the afternoon was a bit touch and go after that. So I kind of just decided, okay, he might be sleeping, but what if he wakes up and he needs my attention? So Friday, Saturday was fully dedicated to being with my son. But I am excited to come on here to fill the gap for our Faith Friday video. I can't believe I worked on live television. Pardon me. But yeah, to fill the gap for last week Friday's video. If you are new here, we are reading the Bible chapter by chapter from cover to cover, and we are currently reading Genesis 13. So welcome. I hope you have your Bible with you. If you are a returning subscriber, please leave it in the comment what version of the Bible you like reading or you are currently reading. The hope is that once I finish, there's a plan that I'm doing, Bible in 90 days on YouVersion, that once I finish that plan, I am going to do a giveaway on my channel, give away a Bible, a physical Bible, especially for, I think that 2Ks probably read the Bible mostly on digital, not to assume, but anyone else not in that bracket. I will be doing a giveaway probably end of January to someone lucky, and probably we'll start with someone within Gaborone, and then we'll spread out as time goes on, right? But welcome to today's video. We are reading Genesis 13, as I already said, and how we usually do things is that I am going to read the full chapter in your hearing and then share a few reflective points. So today's video I've decided to title Let Go and Make Room for What's Truly Yours, as we continue the story of Abraham, where we started in Genesis 12 and we're continuing the journey. So if you're only new here, please do check out my other videos within this series to catch yourself up, and I hope that you will also make time to read the Bible for yourself, because there's always something new that God is revealing through these stories. So I want to encourage you to make your Bible your friend. So let's get into the word. So reading Genesis 13 in your hearing, it has 18 verses. Genesis 13. Abraham and Lot returned out of Egypt and agreed to separate. And Abram went up out of Egypt. I'm actually just thinking how I forgot to get water, so I'm just going to pause this and get that bottle over there. Yes, I managed to get it. This bottle was gifted to me by my little sister. After many times of asking, she finally got it for me. Okay, let's get into it. So Genesis 13, reading in your hearing. And Abram went up out of Egypt, he and his wife and all that he had, and Lot with him into the south. And Abram was very rich in cattle, in silver, and in gold. And he went on his journeys from the south, even to Bethel, unto the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Hai, unto the place of the altar which he had made there at first. And there Abram called the name of the Lord. And Lot also, which went with Abram, had flocks and herds and tents, and the land was not able to bear them, that they might dwell together, for their substance was great, so that they could not dwell together. And there was a strife between the headman of Abram's cattle and the headman of Lot's cattle. And the Canaanite and the Perizzite dwelled then in the land. And Abram said unto Lot, Let there be no strife, I pray thee, between me and thee, and between my herdmen and thy herdmen, for we be brethren. Is not the whole land before thee? Separate thyself, I pray thee, from me. If thou wilt take the left hand, then I will go to the right, or if thou depart to the right hand, then I will go to the left. And Lot lifted up his eyes and beheld all the plain of Jordan, that it was well watered. It was well watered everywhere before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, even as the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt, as thou comest unto Zoar. Then Lot chose him all the plain of Jordan, and Lot journeyed east, and they separated themselves the one from the other. Abram dwelled in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelled in the cities of the plain, and pitched his tent toward Sodom. But the men of Sodom were wicked and sinners before the Lord exceedingly. And the Lord said unto Abram, after that Lot was separated from him, Lift up now thine eyes, and look from the place where thou art, northward and southward and eastward and westward. For all the land which thou seest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed forever. And I will make thy seed as the dust of the earth, so that if a man can number the dust of the earth, then shall thy seed also be numbered. Arise, walk through the land in the length of it and in the breadth of it, for I will give it unto thee. Then Abram removed his tent, and came and dwelt in the land in the plain of Mamre, which is in Hebron, and built there an altar unto the Lord. And that concludes the reading of the word. This girl is running. Hey, tell her to slow down. Slow down. So if you will indulge me, today's reflection will be a short one, given that we are stealing the time indeed, because after this I am going to also be recording my Sunday video. Like I said, it is Sunday, and I will be putting out the Sunday video at 8:30. So imagine this. After this, I'm going to edit both and put them out. #life of a content creator. So I made I think 3 points, and the first point would be a story around the time when I worked in this particular organization. I won't say the name, but I worked in a particular role where once my boss resigned, I was given an opportunity to actually but to act in her position, right? Acted in her position for 3 months, I think, and I got pulled from a role that I was doing in a different department, by the way. So I got pulled from that role that I'd recently started the year before. Messy story. But pulled from that role into the acting position for 3 months. And then within those 3 months, and this was a very high role, I remember I had a lot of imposter syndrome regarding the role, but I did it diligently for 3 months. And in my heart of hearts, honestly, part of me wanted the role. Funny, because I had so much imposter syndrome concerning it, but I wanted the role for myself. But I think the need or the want at the time was really just motivated by the monetary compensation that would come from actually getting the role, and not necessarily the passion behind it. It was great work that we were doing, obviously, but I don't believe it's somewhere or a place there that was meant for me, and I'll explain. So I got pulled into that role for 3 months, and at the end of 3 months there was a lot of tension. God is saying, go back to your role, my sister, right? You are not going to be absorbed into this role. There's a lot of anger, a lot of frustration when that week was happening, a lot of hard conversations that were had. But what I realize now, looking at the role that I'm currently doing, which is a very big pivot, still in the banking industry, but a pivot into a department that is very exclusive, and I wouldn't have made it into this department had I fought and muddled, I'd say, my career with that particular moment where I didn't get what I thought I wanted from that acting role. So I go back to the position that I was doing, continued on working, but I realized that at some point there was a bit of, I'd say, a depression that happened because I was a bit dissatisfied. And I remember telling my colleague about this, and honestly, I'm grateful for my network, because the job that I currently have was because of the conversation that was had, and I'll explain why. So had the conversation, and he tells me that, hey, there's a role that's being advertised for this particular role in Treasury. Throw your hat in the ring. And at the time, I had moved significantly up in terms of my career, and even the role that I was in was quite important in the bank, and contribution wise I was happy in terms of what I'm learning day in, day out. But when the opportunity came following this conversation with my colleague, threw my hat in the ring, and I'd also asked for him to actually put a good word in to say, this is Gorata, this is her work ethic, which is very important, which I feel was very important in me getting the role. Having a personal referral to say, I know her work ethic, she follows through, she's the girl who thinks she is, right? So finally, I get a call for the interview, I sit for the interview, and I get the role. And I will be honest that I've been in the role now for over a year, I think a year, 3 months now. And I'm grateful for the job that I'd been doing, and the previous role that I'd been in before going to acting, and then finally coming into this role in Treasury, which was a big pivot. I've been working in banking for 7 years now, and I had never had the opportunity to work in Treasury. So when that phone call came to say, hey, you made it in, we're giving you the offer, it was amazing. It was an ecstatic feeling. And the reason why I share the story, end of story, by the way. The reason why I share the story is because it's the story that came into my heart when I was reading the story of Abraham and Lot. So Lot is looking at this beautiful, lush land, and he says, yes, this is what I'm choosing. And remember Abraham, God had given him the promise in Genesis 12. And I can imagine for him, if he's looking at it, what the eyes see, to say, maybe this is what God promised me. What if he then held on and wanted to fight Lot for the plains of Jordan? To fight for the lush green land in the plains of Jordan. Let me just check if I'm saying it right. In the plain of Jordan. What if he gave himself a headache fighting a lot for that piece of land? But what I like about Abraham is that he had this gentle surrender where he's like, okay, you pick which side you choose. And I feel there was wisdom and a bit of faith in his heart concerning what God was going to do with his life. And truly, honestly, I will be honest and say, in the moment for me, when I was going through that period where I didn't get the acting role, there's a lot of frustration, there's a lot of tension, there's a lot of conflict in my heart. Why am I not getting this role? Dear Jesus, why, right? It didn't make sense, but I believe that having had let it go in my heart, let go and found peace to say, it's not a rejection, it's a redirection, Gorata, gave me peace to continue working diligently in the role that I was in when I got called to go act. And going back, there's a lot of disappointment because you're thinking, hey, people thought you'd get the role, you're back, doesn't mean you're not good enough, and. But I held on and kept being steadfast in how I worked, in my work ethic, and in my delivery, in managing the portfolio that I had. And what I'd seen is when the new opportunity came, or the promise in this case, where God is saying there's more, and the promise that I have concerning your life will happen no matter what it looks like in the current moment, no matter what it looks like you're losing in the current moment. I have a plan that is bigger than what you may be seeing with your eyes right now, right? So I don't know what story you may have concerning having to let go of something that looked so good for you, that looked like this is the thing, Lord. And I have so many stories. I have the scholarship story. I think I shared it in one of my early videos. The scholarship story where my heart literally broke when I lost the scholarship. But I think in hindsight, when I look back on my life currently, I'm like, God had a bigger plan for my life. And I wouldn't have had it any other way, right? Even allowing losing that thing that looked so glittery in my eyes. But I did say, that was nice. I allowed myself to kind of just go in to that story time and okay. But yeah, I had written down 3 things that I'd wanted to share, and I think I'll share them in closing. But I think just from the story of Abraham and Lot, what we're seeing Abraham present to us is a lot of wisdom and a lot of maturity that I feel is only built as and when we build intimacy with God. I was listening to a song by what's her name? Victoria Orenze. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but it's called Jesus the Same medley on Apple Music. It's like 40 minutes long. But at 25 minutes, there's a part where she goes in and starts talking. And there's a line where she says, we need to go higher. And she shares Isaiah 55 verse 8, which says, God's thoughts are higher. For I know the thoughts that I have concerning you. Thoughts. Not me quoting a different verse. But yeah, that the Lord's thoughts are higher, right? Higher than ours. Let me just go to the verse. My Bible is here, but I'm embarrassed because I hadn't memorized it. I'll be honest. But no shame. We are in a journey. Yes. So Isaiah 55, verse 8. It says, for my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, saith the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. And I think the challenge for us going into this week, and especially given my Sunday video, continuing our Safe in His Presence series, is the call for us to rise and go higher, to reach those thoughts, right? Maybe we're at this level and God's thoughts are over here. We need to work at arriving at the thoughts that He has concerning us so that we are able to operate in alignment with His will. So let's get into the closing part of today's video. We're losing daylight also. But yeah, let's get into the closing part. I really hope the story was coherent enough for you to understand and catch the gist of having to, lose out on the glittery thing, but getting more and better over time, but not in the moment, right? So the key things, or the 3 key thoughts that I'd want to share from Genesis 13. One is the story of separation that we're seeing in this case, where Lot and Abraham separate because they had too much, and we still see God coming through for Abraham in this case early on, even before He starts giving him the many children that he was promised. We see a story of clarity of thought in Abraham saying immediately to Lot, you pick whichever side and I'll take the opposite side, right? And faith in being able to say those words, to say, there's a bit of tension in us sitting and staying together in this land. It cannot hold us, so let's separate. Having faith that wherever he goes, God will be there. And then the second thing that I noted is that Genesis 13 shows us that sometimes holding on can block what God is trying to release. Holding on can block what God is trying to release. Had I gotten in my head at the time when I lost the acting role, I don't think I'd be where I am today, currently, right? So it's in learning to surrender and really look at things differently and not look at things from the lens of frustration to say, my life is over because I didn't get this particular thing. But then to say, but wait, I have a God who orchestrates my life. I have a God who's seen my entire life and he can't necessarily fail me. There definitely is more. There definitely is abundance. Even if I've lost that opportunity, there's something in store that he's preparing specifically and uniquely for me. And lastly, letting go is not always loss, but preparation for expansion. I will be honest that the 3 months that I did in the acting position really prepared me for the different conversations that I had when I started my role in Treasury in terms of making impact in the organization that I moved into. So I will be honest that it wasn't lost time, if I should say. And in learning to be able to have the maturity to say, it's okay, you may not be giving it to me, I'm frustrated, but I'm going to move on in the role that I'm in. I'm going to work at it, work hard. And I remember when I was leaving the organization that I was in, from the portfolio that I was managing, the farewell actually made me tear up because the feedback that I got from my manager was how I follow through, how I work hard. And for me, in terms of that impression, I will hold on to forever, because it's a thing of, it could have easily come back frustrated and ruined the way I work and ruined my career from there on. But I'm grateful for the Holy Spirit who encourages us and teaches us to be able to slowly surrender, because I don't think we necessarily do it all together by our own strength, right? So the lesson there, like I said, letting go is not always loss, but preparation for expansion, right? So what areas of your life do you need to let go of control and make room for what is truly yours? You may not see it. And if you look at the story of Abraham, you see that God didn't particularly state, like in Genesis 12, he didn't state where they're going. He said, I'll give you a land. I'll give you the land, right? Which land? We do not know. So similarly to you, even in your journey, I want to encourage you to focus on intimacy and building your relationship with God, and, take your eyes off all the, I'd say, obsession on the goal, and move into a space where you're building intimacy and moving higher in the relationship you have with God, so that you grow in maturity, so that we grow in our faith, so that in those moments when something like that happens, we are elevated to actually step into that moment and speak life and speak in faith, trusting that there's something bigger for me. I might not have it now, but there's something bigger in store for me. So yeah, that concludes our Friday video. Let me say goodbye properly. So I'm grateful to have been able to record this Friday video for you, and I'm definitely going to come back to Genesis 13 and reflect on it a bit more, because I will be honest that I didn't give myself time to press into the chapter the whole week because I was so busy. With my little sister graduating, watch the Sunday video. I'll have a longer check-in there, but I will actually allow myself to go back to it to remind myself Genesis 13 when something similar happens to me or someone in my life. Otherwise, I hope you have an amazing week. I hope you had an amazing weekend. May God's favor locate you, and may his grace sustain you as you live out this new week. It's goodbye from me. Toodles.